Bleeding signs you should never ignore as a woman: bleeding after sex, heavy menstrual bleeding, absence of menstruation, irregular bleeding, and postmenopausal bleeding. These are the few period symptoms a lady should never ignore. Stay with me to the end of this video so you will know how this bleeding can affect your fertility. Before we jump right into it, let me welcome you back to my channel. If this is your first time here, you are at the right place. Kindly hit the subscribe button and turn on the post notification so you always get notified anytime I post a new content. And for my returning subscribers, thank you so much, guys. I love you all. Today we'll be talking about 6 period signs a lady should never ignore, and the first one is heavy menstrual flow. Yes, if you need to change your pad or tampon every 2 hours or in less than 2 hours, you should be worried, because this heavy menstrual flow could be a sign of hormonal imbalance. When there is hormonal imbalance, the endometrium develops in excess. The endometrium is the innermost lining of the uterus. It is where the baby stays till term. It is also the same place that shed during your period. So when there is hormonal imbalance, this part of the uterus means womb for people who doesn't know. So this part developed in excess and eventually shared its way by heavy menstrual bleeding. Please do not ignore these signs. If you suddenly experience heavy menstrual flow, few causes of hormonal imbalance are PCOS, that is polycystic ovarian syndrome, obesity, insulin resistance, and also thyroid problem. Thyroid is a butterfly-shaped organ that is located right in front of our neck. It is responsible for hormone secretions, and when there is hypersecretion or low secretion of hormone in case of hyper and hypothyroidism, it could affect your period, and hereby you could have heavy menstrual flow. Number 2 period sign a woman should never ignore is bleeding after sex. If you experience bleeding after sex, this could be a sign of infection, pelvic inflammatory disease, or STD, sexually transmitted disease, especially chlamydia. It can also be as a result of damage to the vagina due to dryness or friction in the vagina during sexual intercourse. Imagine when a forceful object is being inserted into your vagina. It could cause damages like tears around your vagina, and after sex you can experience bleeding. Another damages is during childbirth. A lot of women have tears during childbirth, and it might be minor then and eventually stopped, and after a while when they start having sex it could come back. Please do not ignore these symptoms if you see or notice any of them. Number 3 period signs a woman should never ignore is irregular bleeding. Irregular bleeding can also be as a result of stress, fibroid, polyps. Polyps is the growth in the uterus or in the cervix. There is no supposed to be any form of growth in the uterus and its appendages. So when there is abnormal growth like polyps in the uterus or in the cervix, it can make you have irregular bleeding. Also, endometriosis. Endometriosis is when the uterine tissue, it is located outside the uterus, be inside the fallopian tube, in the ovary, or even in the abdominal cavity. You can experience irregular bleeding in this case. Also, in case of birth control pills and premature ovarian insufficiency. Premature ovarian insufficiency, it is when there is loss of normal functions of the ovaries. That is, the ovaries is unable to produce the normal hormones like estrogen, or it does not release egg frequently or regularly. This is called premature ovarian insufficiency. So if you notice irregular bleeding, do not assume that you're fine. It is better you go see your doctor and they confirm to you that everything is fine than to assume that you're okay. Number 4 symptoms we'll be talking about today is post-menopausal bleeding. Post-menopausal bleeding. Bleeding after menopause is not normal. There is nothing normal about a woman that stops seeing her period about 5 years, 10 years, and she started seeing bleeding all of a sudden again. It is not normal. If your mother, your sisters, relatives, or anybody complains of such to you, please advise them to go see a doctor, particularly obs and gyne. Number 5 we'll be talking about today is bleeding between periods or frequent bleeding. A woman that just completed her menstruation today and a few days after, in less than a week or in about a week, she starts seeing another period. She starts bleeding again. This is not normal and could be as a result of polyps too. I already talked about polyps. Polyps is a growth in the uterus or in the cervix. It can make a woman to have persistent or frequent bleeding or bleeding between period. Also, change in medication, miscarriage, cancer, endometriosis, and contraception, especially hormonal contraception, they can all make a woman bleed between period or bleed frequently. The last one I'll be talking about today is amenorrhea. That is cessation of menstruation. Cessation is also absence. So that is absence of menstruation. A woman who sees a period every 2 months or every 2-3 months, it is not normal. PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, is one of the causes of amenorrhea, absence of menstruation, and this could affect your fertility. You may not know now until it is time for you to conceive, the time you want to get pregnant and you are having problem in conceiving. Do not wait till then before you pay attention to your body. Apart from PCOS, tumor in the pituitary too can cause these symptoms. Pituitary is somewhere in our brain where hormones are secreted. So if there is abnormal growth like tumor in this place too, it can affect your period. Please do not ignore any sudden symptoms you experience in your body. Also, thyroid problems, they can all affect your fertility if you choose to not pay attention to these symptoms. Please, if you notice any strange bleeding, be it frequent bleeding, irregular bleeding, bleeding after sex, or absent menstruation, please go to your doctor. Please run to your doctor for the sake of your fertility. If you find this piece of information very helpful, kindly subscribe to my channel and turn on the post notification. Share my videos as well, like and drop your comment. I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you.